50% of the world's population is women, yet women make up only 10% of founders and 9% of equity goes to women. The rest goes to men. Yet we are 70% of the high school graduates and more than half of the engineering degrees go to women. The numbers don't add up. Welcome to C-Suite Lounge, where we spotlight the women rewriting these stats. Game changers, leaders, and founders. This is not just a podcast, it's a movement.
Okay, this is a founder, partner, investor, an incredible visionary.
And I couldn't be more excited to interview my friend, the lovely, the amazing, the powerhouse, Emma Grede.
Fashion has done a terrible job of reinforcing a really unrealistic beauty ideal.
The entrepreneur who's driving a multi-billion-dollar retail empire while trying to redefine the world of fashion.
This guest knows a thing or two about that. She is behind the very well-known names of Good American, SKIMS, and Safely. And
I was just saying this backstage earlier, she said to me, Emma, you're not better than anybody else, but neither is anybody better than you. And so in some points of my career, I really felt that I didn't have perhaps as good an education as some of my peers. I left school when I was 16, I didn't do my exams, I was a bit of a college flunk, I needed money, so I went to work in a clothes shop, and all of that just made me feel sometimes a little bit inferior. But somewhere in the back of my head, I really understood that at some point in life, whether you're coming out of Harvard or Stanford or you're a school dropout, there's this kind of leveling of the playing field. And in my head, I really kind of went, well, you know what? We all have opportunity in some way to do what we kind of want to do. And I think that since moving to this country, I really had a huge realization that, talent is somewhat distributed evenly, but actually opportunity isn't. And I think that I've been very prepared for my opportunities when they've come around, but by the same token, I'm very fixated on where people don't have opportunities, how can I help provide them? And so I do think about hiring, how you're bringing people through your business, how you're treating people when they're part of your company. I've had interns that have turned out to be, editors at Teen Vogue. Well, they're really nice to me now because I was really great to them. Right. And so I do think that, the world is small, and I think I've always thought about, how whatever I do in any stage of my career is going to come back around for me. And that's been the truth of my entire career.
I felt so burnt out actually at the end of last year, and I just couldn't do much. It was very much needed, spending some time with family. But yeah, this year we're back. But I'm so happy to be back here with you guys to talk about Emma Grede today. Emma is one of my absolute favorite entrepreneurs. If I could meet anyone and have dinner with any entrepreneur right now, it would definitely be Emma. She's up on my vision board, so it's pretty bad. Yeah, and I reply to her stories on Instagram, but that's a story for another day. Today, we want to talk about Emma's journey to where she's at today, really just unpack, her life story. I think it's important to demystify a lot of the narratives around what it takes to be an entrepreneur, what it takes to be a founder of multi-billion-dollar businesses. So Emma is a co-founder in SKIMS, Good American, and Safely. SKIMS with Kim, of course, Good American with Khloé Kardashian, and Safely with Kris Jenner. Let's start from the beginning. So Emma started her journey in East London and was raised by a single mom and her 3 or 4 other sisters, I'm not quite sure. Growing up, Emma was undiagnosed for dyslexia, and she obviously very intelligent, very talented person, but the system was not quite made for her, from what I understood. And I think we can all relate to that. The system is really not made for anyone but a certain group of privileged people, if we're being honest. But you can always work hard and try your best. That's what you can do with life. So basically, she dropped out of high school and started trying to figure out her way in life. Ended up back at London Fashion School, I believe, London School of Fashion, and that is where she also dropped out, but really started pursuing her passion for apparel and fashion. So before the world of influencers and brand influencing and all of that was Emma Grede. She started her first company focusing on just that, connecting talent and brands and just making magic with that. After her company, did well over a long period of time, I believe it was 10 years plus, she sold it and had to leave the company. And that's when she also met her husband while she was forming up her company, which is maybe 10 years prior to that, when she was working at her job. And then the husband decided to actually invest in her. So ladies, let's be on the outlook for that. And one thing that Emma also talks about is the importance of actually finding a partner who compliments you when you're trying to achieve something great. So in all seriousness, let's really try to be aware of ourselves so we can be better aware of other people and find the right people for us, whether it's friends or partners. And I love for my friends to be my partners. So let's keep it authentic. And after many years of running her own business, she decided to start her own brand with Khloé Kardashian called Good American. And of course, championing issues such as inclusivity, empowerment of women of all shapes and sizes. This made Good American a success, and that took off. Next, she moved to SKIMS with Kim, and that was sold out within minutes. And so you begin to ask yourself, what really is that differentiator between someone who starts a brand, and brands are being started every day, versus a brand that sells in minutes? And I believe, from what I've researched from Emma, it's really her work ethic and that ability to push through and get things done. I think a lot of us are okay sometimes with pushing a little bit and then just letting it slide from there, and that is detrimental to success, if we're being honest. But also, forming good partnerships is something that is essential. These brands were obviously backed by big names, Kardashians, but she often talks about how you can only get so far with a name, someone's name on something. You need to actually deliver the product, deliver it at a price that is worthy of the product. So none of these apparels that she is involved with are cheap. The Good American jeans are not cheap jeans. SKIMS is not cheap, but it's a good combination of giving people really good quality and obviously implementing the talent on there, but then also having that competitive pricing. So pricing your things that are good quality low will not do you any favors. So basically that is where Emma, that's how she made her career and has grown into the mogul that she is today. Of course, this comes from a lot of hard work, a lot of determination, especially coming from the rough part of town with a single mom and not graduating high school. But that just goes to show how much tenacity and focus, and when you really want it, because she's not one of those people who act like they didn't really care to get rich. She was determined to get rich. She followed through on her plans and made it happen. And of course, there's no entrepreneur, I believe, that has been super successful, that can tell you that there was no luck in anything at all. So, you know, just believing in good luck, hard work, and a strong work ethic is very important.
You know, I had come from a background where I wasn't an apparel person. I wasn't a founder for the audience that I went out to, right? When you have an agency, you're not necessarily who people are looking at to, you know, give millions of dollars to start a new brand that they have no experience. But I had a very strong instinctive feeling about what was needed and where the industry and the business was going. And that came from a personal need. And I was very, very clear about that. And I think all I could say is, you know, I have a rule that's, I don't take investors that I wouldn't want to have a drink with, that I don't want to spend time with, because you end up in these relationships that are really complex. They hopefully go on for years and years and years. And I did it all wrong the first and second time around. I'd love to say I learned the first time, but I didn't. And so I think that I'm at that point now where once you've had a little bit of success, you can be a little bit more choosy. But I do just keep that simple rule. And I think about that for everyone I come across, right? If you work with me or for me, if you're coming into one of my companies, you need to understand, you need to be along for the ride and the mission, and you really need to believe in what it is that I want to do. And so I think it's been a good rule for me.
Similar because you're also a partner. You've got a portfolio of businesses. You have a tremendous amount of partners. And I read somewhere where you assess a partner by authenticity. And so not dissimilar as you're talking about investors, but is there any other unique attributes you look in for partners?
I think about people that want to go on a journey, because what I've learned is that nothing that I've done has had a quick result. It looks like that, and it may appear that way if you look at Instagram or whatever, but I think that I choose my partners very carefully, and I also choose my partners based on my own weaknesses. And I think that's the same way I think about building teams. I'm very acutely aware of where I'm good. And I think, I spend an enormous amount of my time hiring, because I know that bringing the right people into the right culture is what building a business is all about. And nothing happens on your own. I get called like self-made all the time. And I think, God, I'm not self-made, because if you knew the hundreds of people that work around me every single day. So I think about investors, partners, team building, all as the same. And I say that because I really do think the most important part of my role, aside from thinking about product development and innovation, is really like honing in on who are the right people that I'm going to do this with, and who do I want to spend that amount of time with, quite honestly, because you've got to be in it for the long run.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, looking into how Emma continues to build her brands, one of the important things that she often points out is the ability to include more and more different kinds of people and bringing them to the table. That is so important, to make sure that you are having a wide range of customers that you actually can serve. So for someone in sales, and honestly anyone trying to make a business, any business is to serve the consumers, whether those are businesses or individual consumers. You need to be able to appeal to the greatest number of your clients. So inclusivity is one of the things that she really highlights a lot in her talks. Another thing that Emma is big on is having good people around you, and that can include through partnerships, through mentorship, or through just networking with other people within the industry that you're in. For example, when it comes to mentorship, Emma, as always, definitely goes for it, and I really admire that, because sometimes there's this illusion that you only get a mentor if you have a certain aura to you, if you just attract really great people that are like, oh, I want to mentor you. But honestly, that is just not how it works. Sometimes you need to go out there and get it for yourself. And she really believes in, calling up people to ask questions, be, the one initiating these things. Because you need to remember that when it comes to mentorship, they are not really gaining much from you, but you're the one who's going to gain from them. So what are you bringing to the table, and also how much of going for it are you going to do in seeking mentorship, seeking guidance in things. Asking a lot of questions is so important, and really seeing where you align and showing progress is so important too for mentorship. You need to be able to show, like, we spoke about this and this is what I did about it. Another thing that Emma is big on, still really reflecting her nature of being a go-getter, is when you're in industry with people, try to reach out as much as you can to understand how they overcame the obstacles you're facing, so you don't waste as much time on that, just contemplating and trying to figure out, what do I do next? I think it's important to be open to, still receiving that expertise from other people, building off of it, not from like a competitor type of situation, but really being genuine about the advice you get from others and how you implement it and how you also share information on the other end. I think is very important. Most times people believe that there isn't enough cake to go around, and of course there is. Everyone can get some cake, okay? I think an abundance mindset really is the key to success, and that is one thing again that I learned from Emma, that you need to have that kind of mindset that is a growth mindset. You don't see things as closed in, as this is it and that's the end of it. There's room for improvement. Mistakes give us experiences that we can learn from, and we need to learn from them and move forward and make decisions, stick by them, learn from them, make better decisions, and keep it rolling. We really don't overthink it. And this coming from someone who overthinks it, it takes me a while to get things done. So I really want to take this space to be a space of growth where we can all grow together and learn as we get into these conversations about these women. And I would love to hear more from everybody in the chat.
Just what I felt comfortable with and what I knew to be true, that if there were a group of people around the table that all had different opinions, we'd do the best work for our clients, and that just worked. And so I don't think of, I never kind of took a beat and wrote it down anywhere. But in hindsight, what I created was an agency that could service our clients the best, because we had all of these different opinions and somebody looking out from a different perspective when we were doing incredible campaigns. You'd have somebody say, do you know what, guys, have you thought about this and how that could be interpreted, or how it would feel to this specific segment of customers? And that was something that I knew was a superpower early on, because we were always avoiding mistakes for our clients, right? You'd have a dude with a remit, and it was always, like some guy in a company, and he'd be like, this is what we should do. And we would be like, well, actually, there might be a better way to do that.
As if there is a way for you to gain feedback from people that you serve, then that is only good for you. Another thing that is important to her is that inclusion should not be an afterthought. We should be actively, engaging more diverse voices, calling more people onto the table. And I absolutely love that she really walks her talk. On Shark Tank, she's out here really investing in women's businesses and sitting on boards that empower women and Black people. And we'll talk more about that later. Another aspect that Emma often talks about is the fact that you need to be able to make decisions and move forward from the decisions. Do not ruminate on things too much. Of course, we can all get into a space where we've made bad decisions, but you need to be able to learn from experiences and just keep it moving. Collaboration, like we spoke of before, is also super key to her leadership principles, learning from each other and growing. And also she takes it that personally by mentoring other people in her company that, also are ambitious and want to learn.
Really I think about my life right now, and there's so many things that I never expected to be doing, but also without too much arrogance, there's also a lot of it that's like, I worked for this, I kind of deserve to be here.
Absolutely.
So I think it's the amalgamation of both things, I would say.
So you're here really representing the 15% pledge today.
I am indeed.
Tell us about the 15% pledge.
Well, I have to say, first of all, I am the very proud chairwoman of the 15% pledge, but it was started by an incredible woman who's become a great friend of mine, Aurora James. And the magical thing about being here today is that, that nonprofit started as an Instagram post. One woman with a way of seeing things and somebody that wanted to do something about a problem, that problem being the access and opportunity for Black-owned brands to get onto the shelves of the biggest retailers in this country. And the pledge was this very, very simple premise, right? Black people make up roughly 15% of the population of this country, and therefore retailers should really try to make 15% of their annual buys go towards Black-owned businesses. And I think what started as a proclamation, as a this is what you can do in this moment, when we go back to that terrible moment post the murder of George Floyd, has really turned into such a movement. And the reason I came on board is because when I saw what Aurora had decided she was going to do, I saw it immediately as a business opportunity, as a commercial opportunity, and being somebody that, because of what I do and the businesses that I run, can get pretty much, most CEOs of American retailers on the phone. I was like, hey, I can help over here. And I'm really proud to say that 4 years later, we're still doing the work. We have 29 pledge takers. We've created a $14 billion pipeline of opportunity for Black-owned brands. And over 700 brands are on the shelves of these businesses that weren't there before. And so I always think about that in, it sounds so grand and it's so brilliant, but that's 700 founders, 700 families, their communities, the people that work in those businesses that are affected because of the impetus and the work of one person primarily, somebody putting themselves out there. And so, I'm asked so many questions about women and business and how we think about things and our emotion. She took all of her emotion and she put it into a post, and then she did something about it. And I think that's so brilliant. And it could only happen with a Black woman in America, and 4 years later we'd be standing here. So pretty amazing, I would say.
Now, to talk more about what Emma Grede does on the side of philanthropy, I cannot not mention the 15% pledge. So the 15% pledge is a nonprofit that partners with retailers to commit 15% of their shelf space to Black-owned businesses. And this is because Black-owned businesses and Black people make 15% of the population. So in representation of her culture, of her people, she really engages in this nonprofit to make sure that we are changing the system and not just, posting hashtags or implementing solutions that are not long-term. And I absolutely love this because it is us actively, engaging in systematic change. Of course, it's not everyone who will jump on board, but I think it is absolutely amazing. And that is the kind of policies we need to be really thinking about when it comes to different demographics, women, people of color, and other groups. We need to be thinking more about how can we really make people feel, strengthened. That is so important. I want to thank you guys for joining me on this episode. I will leave you with some resources to go out, grab for yourself, and, get better. This is a book called Mindset, and this was actually called out by Emma Grede, and I bought it because she called it out, and I really loved it. It talks about a growth mindset and why that is better than a fixed mindset, and how you can always grow from experiences, disappointments in life if you can just expand your room for reasoning on that. Just expanding your mind to more possibilities, to learning and to growing from our mistakes. So this is called Mindset by Carol Dweck, Dweck. the new psychology of success. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye for now.